Welcome everyone to the very, very late night, if you are in Southeast Asia, live stream coming to you live from Bangkok, Thailand tonight.
Live from Bangkok, Thailand. It's the
It's
Jeremy Show.
showtime.
It's showtime.
I have with me tonight very, very special guest, Mr. Steve Montelli, and I am very, very honored and pleased to have you here, sir.
Jeremy, thank you for inviting me. It's always fun to come on here and listen to my own voice for an hour and a half, let me tell you, because that is the key.
That is the key, my friend.
That is the key.
That is definitely the key. Steve has been, for those of you that don't know, he was the first expat I ever had any kind of contact with. And it really just, if you guys never listened to his live stream that he has now, I encourage you to go over and check it out. I also encourage you to, do you still have any of your old videos up, Steve?
Yeah, you know what? I took them all down because I get the wild hair, shall we say, and I go, well, I'm going to take them all down. Then a week later, I'll put them all back up. It's just like I bail out of Facebook about 3 times a day. And then I put it back up. So it's like my attention span, my short attention span goes to all platforms.
Understood. So, Understood. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight. We're going to hit 4 major areas, and we've got this planned out pretty well. We're going to let the people in the live stream chat. I'll say hey to Mr. John Montgomery and Giovanni for chiming in. Cal Winston, hello guys. And after that, I'm just going to let the chat roll for a little while, and I'll come back and catch up with you guys as it goes on. So we're going to talk about cost of living, lifestyle, dating, and flying to and from Southeast Asia. Steve's going to give, he's going to weigh in with his 2 or 3 cents, however much he feels like talking. And I'll tell you mine. And before we get into all that, I had a commenter earlier today that asked Steve to talk about a video that he did not too long ago. And that video was about, actually it was quite a while ago, but the video was about getting bored basically after retirement. So if you want to address that, Steve, go right ahead, man.
Yeah, getting bored, man. You know, I am the prime person in life for getting bored because of my internet attention span, which generally allows about 5 minutes of anything, and then next it's the new deal. But when you're retired, it is tough to fill that 16 hours a day, and if you don't have something to do, which I don't have personally. I do a couple things, but I really don't have a lot to do all day. I mean, I have no television to watch here. I have nothing. So I got to fill it in with internet stuff. So, I do the wallet channel, and I was making the wallets for a while. And, being retired and being bored kind of goes hand in hand down the road, just like a relationship with a Filipina, where jealousy and Tampo walk hand in hand down the road together. So if you don't have something to do when you're retired, like somebody like you, Jeremy, you're a young guy. So you got to get out there and you got to make money for the next 30 years. So your days are filled up. But the retired guys, it doesn't take long to get over the initial enthusiasm of, I don't have to go to work. And then you become bored. So you really got to have something to do in your retirement that fills your days, or you got nothing. You end up watching TV and drinking beer at 10 a.m.
I think a lot of guys get the impression that they're going to come over to a Southeast Asian country like the Thailand or Philippines, and their days are going to be filled with joy and beer drinking and nightlife, and that's all well and good if you're swimming in cash. But I think there's a common misconception that it takes a lot of money to live that kind of lifestyle. Would you agree?
I'd agree that if you're into the bar scene and you're into the nightlife and everything, that takes a lot of money. and that is going to chew your money down real fast. Now, obviously, it's. I mean, if we're talking budgets, if we're talking money, I would say that your budget in Thailand is much higher than your budget was in the Philippines. I don't know. Is that true?
Well, it is now because I'm also working, which is providing additional income. But when I first got here, I will tell you that uh, my budget had stayed exactly the same, um, almost exactly the same. The cost of living, because when I moved to Bangkok, was naturally a little bit higher than it was when I was living in the provincial Philippines. I mean, obviously that goes without saying, but at the same time, in return, you get things like um, you get things like infrastructure and dependable internet, clean water. So it's kind of a trade off. But yeah, I would say my budget has increased significantly being in Thailand versus the Philippines. Sure.
Well, I would say like the first apartment you got in Bangkok, that was a really really good price.
That was an excellent price. It was actually cheaper than the first apartment I got in Cebu, because in Cebu I was paying 20,000 pesos, so 400 US dollars a month. And the apartment I got in Bangkok was 6,000 baht, much nicer apartment. And it was less than 200, like $196 a month.
But you were a ways away from the tourist area, also, right?
Yeah, I was a little bit on the northern side of Bangkok, but I was still 10 minutes walking distance from an MRT station. So, getting to and around Bangkok, it was really nice. It was really nice.
Well, and that said, the further away you get from the prime area where I don't want to say the ties are, from the prime area where the money can be plucked from your pocket easier, it's going to be cheaper to live out there.
Definitely, definitely,
So,
absolutely, and it's same way in the Philippines. No different. If you're in Cebu and you want to, lower the cost of living, you move out to Mandawi or Lapu-Lapu or something like that.
yeah,
It's the
exactly.
same principle. So, getting into cost of living, talking about rent versus hotels. This is where you and I contrast a lot. The I tend to rent wherever I go. I kind of tend to stick my and rent and pay electric and water and that kind of thing. But you tend to do more. I know you had an apartment the last time you were in the Philippines, but you tend to live more from hotel to hotel, place to place. And my audience doesn't really, they don't hear that from me. So I was just wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit for them.
Well, I mean, I stayed in hotels because I didn't really know where I wanted to be. And well, I'm just in my, what I want is flexibility to leave whenever I want to leave. And that's something that some people don't understand and they don't grasp, is that not everyone not everyone wants to put down roots right where they are and stay for, a year, 2 years. I mean, I shudder when I think about signing a 1 year contract for something. I just shudder, man. I cannot sign a 1 year contract. If I can make it a week, I feel really good about that. So
Me too.
in hotels, in fact, the hotel I stay at in Dumaguete, I walk down to the desk every morning and I say, extend, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. I hand them 1,000. They redo my key for the day. They give me back I don't know, what is it? I think it's like 950 a day now. So they give me back a 50 and we're all good for the next 24 hours. And that's really the extent of the commitment that I want to make to any certain place. Now, that said, I did rent the apartment in Dumaguete the last time around, and I was there for, I don't know, 5, 6 months, something like that. And it was good. It was good. It was $230 a month. And you don't realize how cheap that is unless you've been paying the hotels every day, their daily rate. And I was paying 230 a month, and I go, wow, this is wonderful. So when that whole thing blew up, and just this volcanic fireball of screaming and yelling and getting punched and everything else, I really missed that 230 a month because
I
that was
bet.
super cheap. And I didn't realize how cheap that was because, I mean, the hotels I stay in, I'm not staying at great places. I'm staying at some places for like under 1,000 a night, pesos, not dollars.
Right, right, right.
So that 230 a month, $230 a month for renting an apartment was wonderful. So I can see why you prefer to rent rather than stay in hotels.
And then you take into consideration, when you stay in a hotel, you're going to get Wi-Fi. Well, and I know in the Philippines that can go, that can be scarce. But let's say you get Wi-Fi, you're definitely going to get water and electric included. So you kind of have to look at, is the water and electric and the room and all that stuff. If you can get a hotel room for, 10, $15 a night and it's decent, then you might be better off in a hotel room,
Well,
in certain circumstances.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a valid thing, especially the electric. I mean, in my apartment there in Dumaguete, the electric the first month cost $80. Okay, and this was a small apartment. This was not a big place. I was not air conditioning the world. This was a fairly small space, but electric, as you know, in the Philippines, is expensive.
Outrageous. Yes.
So after that first month, I learned to turn the aircon off during the day and just use the fan, or as it's known in the Philippines, the electric fan.
Right.
Not a
Yeah, we're,
fan, it's an electric fan.
we're going to get into some of those some of those sayings here in a little bit. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's kind of the difference between, whether you want to stay in hotels and rent. Now my thing is, when you're first going to a country, like I usually jump on an Airbnb deal, or a long term stay. And when I say long term, I mean like a week stay at a hotel until I can find something a little more permanent. That's what I did when I moved to Thailand. That's what I did when I moved to the Philippines. The Philippines, I had a hotel booked and then an Airbnb for the second week, and here I had an Airbnb booked for the first week, and then found the apartment. I believe the second day I was here, I found the apartment. So that worked out pretty well, really. Moving on to transportation. Now, transportation in the Philippines and Thailand differ, I would say, kind of dramatically, really, because I'm not aware of anything like. Well, we have tuk tuks here, but you know, using a tuk tuk here is not really a responsible means of travel. I mean, anybody that wants to get anywhere is not going to rent a tuk tuk, you know. And then you have the trikes in the Philippines, and it kind of goes. Uh, I mean, it kind of goes the same way. So transportation costs here. The good thing about transportation is um, you have if you're living in the city, you have the BTS, MRT, the Purple Line. You have taxis, motorbike taxis here, which are very efficient. A little dangerous, but very efficient. And you also have um, what am I forgetting? I feel like I'm forgetting something. But you have trains here that go, for example, from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, and other, um, other places. So I think that the infrastructure of the transportation here, I would say, is better than it is in the Philippines. I would also say that the cost of transportation here, really, for what you get, the value wise, is about equal to what you would get in the Philippines. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the Philippines does a really good job of moving people around. Um, it's certainly not as you're right in that it's not as advanced as Thailand, but I think the jeeps and the trikes and the cabs and the various things like that. I mean, I think the price is right in the Philippines. I think it moves a lot of people around that can't really afford a higher cost of transportation. Now, admittedly, the Jeeps are all broken down, and I mean, there's like problems everywhere. I'm not complaining about the Jeeps because I use them all the time, but the price is right for the Jeeps. And I do agree that the Thailand has a much more advanced transportation system. But then again, let's say you go on the BTS. Well, you go on the BTS during the day and you look at all the people riding. They've all got briefcases, they've all got ties on. The ladies are dressed for business. I mean, you can see that they are going to take care of business for the day. Or there's tourists, going back and forth to the train station down at Phaya Thai to either, get out of the country that day. But it's a much more upscale crowd riding the public transport in Thailand than it is in the Philippines. So I think
Yeah, I agree with that.
each transport option is designed for that specific country. Like you couldn't have a BTS in the Philippines. I mean, yeah, they do have they do have the subway and the train going through the city, but I think the transportation systems in each country are overall designed for what's affordable in that country for those people that use it. And the Philippines is less advanced than Thailand.
I would agree with that, and I think that you make a solid point when you say the Philippines does a good job of moving people around because with the jeepneys that they use, you're talking 7 pesos for a ride, and that conforms to the budgets of the people that usually use them. So I think that's a very fair point. There's a comment over here in the chat I wanted to get to really quick. It says, how big of a difference is the language barrier in the Thailand and the absence of a language barrier in the Philippines to expats, especially as it relates to dating the locals? We're going to talk about dating in a little bit, but I will tell you that for me, dating, or not dating, but the language barrier is a huge issue. Huge issue. It is. People think you can come to Thailand and you can get by. You can get by. It's true. But if you want to have relationships with people, and I'm not just talking about dating women, I'm talking about a friendship with another man, or a friendship with a woman, or a friendship with anybody. The language barrier really causes a problem. So if you're coming to Thailand and you're not open to learning Thai, you are probably going to have a hard time. Whereas in the Philippines, just about everybody speaks some level of English. Would you agree with that, Steve?
Well, I think we would all be open to learning Thai, but obviously that is one of the most complicated languages on the face of the earth to learn.
It is.
I mean, it can be done, but all these tonal qualities, and if you make the wrong tone here, it means your mother, came from wherever, and if you make that other tone, it means that I want a scrambled egg. So, and
that's true.
it's very difficult. I mean, some people, of course, have a facility, or they are able to facilitate learning a language easily. That ain't me. But
right, me either.
So yeah. I think learning Thai would just be extremely difficult. So that is a positive for the Philippines, is that most people can cobble together enough English to get done what needs to be done.
Right. I agree. I completely agree.
Now, Jeremy, have you learned much Thai since you've been there? I mean, have you learned any kind of conversation? Do you have any conversational ability at this point in Thai?
No, I have. So that I was just getting ready to say this. In Thailand, okay, I took 7 semesters of Spanish in college and 2 semesters of Portuguese, and I still can't form a sentence in either one. So foreign languages are not my thing. But I will tell you that to learn Thai, for me, you have to learn one word at a time. It's not like you can sit down in a class, and start learning vowel sounds and this, that, and the other, and how to how to put the correct ending on learn your past progressives and all this stuff. It's not like that. It's you learn one word at a time, and then you pick it up in conversation, and you practice that word in conversation until you get it down, and then you learn another one. And I've been able to learn about 2 words since I've been here. So I can basically say hello and goodbye, or excuse me, hello and thank you. That's pretty much what I've got down since I've been here. So it's definitely a language barrier. But John said that younger ladies don't speak much English compared to older women. And I'm going to say that's backwards.
Are you talking about in Thailand or the Philippines? John?
I'm talking about in Thailand. I don't know which country he's talking about, but in Thailand, I would say that's backwards, and I'll tell you why. Now, this is based on my personal experience. That's because the people in the younger students or the younger people here in Thailand are all, education's huge, and they're taking English in school. They're learning English, so I would think that the younger people would speak more English than the older women or older people in general.
But they're supposed to be taught English in the Philippine schools also, and yet
True.
many come out with only rudimentary English skills. They don't, sometimes they don't speak all that good English in the Philippines, and they're taught it in school. So
That's
I don't know where the disconnect is on that, other than, I mean, probably they speak Tagalog at home or whatever, dialect they speak. But some
we have
Filipinos, yeah, they don't
we
speak
have
all
a
that well either.
that's very true. And Kent asked, did either one of us attempt to learn Tagalog or Tagalog, however you say it? And my answer to that question is no, I didn't. I never
Well,
did when I was in the
I
Philippines.
I got to follow right along with that. The answer is no. I can say bayad po to pay the trike driver, and I can say parapo to stop, and not the trike, the Jeep driver, and parapo to stop the Jeep and get off. That There it is. And I can say Poncet, and I can say chicken adobo.
No,
That,
the only thing,
that's my
the only thing,
entire
my entire Filipino dialect consists of kuya. That's it.
yeah.
That's it. So that's all I can do.
Look,
Um,
Nick says here, Steve prefers being paid for doing nothing. Wouldn't we all? I go, Nick, I got to give you a thumbs up on that. I am the best at being paid for doing nothing. I got it down to an art form. I don't show up at all and they pay me. So that's cool. But Nick says something else here too. Nick says, I can't stand the fake welcome you get in Thailand. I
yeah,
can.
yeah.
Oh, Jeremy, have you ever flown Thai Airlines?
I not yet. I have not. I have that coming up shortly, but
That was
I
such
haven't yet.
that Nick's comment goes right to what I experienced on Thai Airlines, where they did everything right. They did all the food passing and the service at the right time and all this stuff, but it's like you were being handled by an automaton. You were being handled by an automaton in this little Thai kind of dress up geisha girl kind of thing. And the service, just like he said here, I can't stand the fake welcome. Well, that was the entire experience on Thai Airways. It was all kind of there, but it wasn't real. So
Right.
I agree with Nick on that.
I agree with Nick too. It that the my colleagues that I work with are. I probably shouldn't go in. I probably shouldn't say that. Let me back off.
Yeah, you better back out of that one.
Yeah.
You're gonna,
Let me back that one off.
yeah, back that one.
Yeah, we won't go into that one, but let's talk about cost of food and eating out. Um, I would say for Thailand here, for me, spicy food is not my thing, and people are telling me, then why in the hell did you move to Thailand? And I'm like, well, I kind of came here on the last minute, kind of had to thing, and I wasn't aware that all Thai food was extraordinarily spicy. And we go on these trips. I'm currently sitting in a hotel room right now on a trip. We're having a whatchamacallit seminar this weekend, and I'm here at the hotel, and I just totally lost my train of thought. Please tell me what I was talking about.
I don't
Food.
know. I
No,
don't know, man. You're sitting in a hotel room. I'm sorry. So go on. You're in a
I know.
hotel room talking about food.
Yeah,
The,
talking
the
about
cost
food.
the cost of food. That's what you were talking about.
Oh man, I was really going somewhere good with that too. Anyway, so we'll talk about spicy food. That's what I was talking about. So what they do is they feed you whatever they want to feed you. Like you don't get to order whatever you want, right? So when we go on these trips and it's all Thai spicy, I mean, just like my digestive system wants to murder me the next day. It's so bad. So I would say in terms of food selection, I love the Philippines more, much more.
I don't even know what to say to that, but I'll give me one. Wait a minute. What I gotta go back up to another thing that Nick has written here. It's the Paris syndrome. Local sick of tourists. Nick, I don't know, man, but you are hitting a home run on these today because I get that sense in the Philippines that the locals are sick of the tourists. And I don't know, you know what? That's just a feeling I get. I don't know if that's, I mean, I haven't been there in 3 months, so, and I'm going back fairly soon. But I just get a real sense of there's a class difference that is very obvious between the I don't know the expats. We'll call them expats for lack of a better word, or we'll call them tourists. Let's just call them tourists. There's a big class difference between the tourists and the Filipinos, and I think the Filipinos are getting tired of it from the top down. In my opinion. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think, yeah, I completely agree with that. And Nick is usually right on. He comments on a lot of my stuff, so he usually stays right on it. I agree with you completely in the Philippines, and I'm going to say that it also goes here in Thailand as well. And the whole being a foreigner here in Thailand is not cool unless you are in a place where your money makes you who you are. And what I mean by that is being in a place like Pattaya or Phuket, or somewhere where the culture is run by how much money you have.
All right, Jeremy.
Outside,
Let me
go ahead.
ask you this: you've been there a while. Have you been in say a non-tourist area where it's almost all locals? And what is their reaction to you in those areas?
Yes, I have. In fact, I live in one of those areas now. So the reaction there for the general public is one of, we got a white guy. It's almost like living in provincial Philippines. They're happy to see you. They want to conversate with you. They want to get to know you. But the Thai people are very, very, very shy in general when it comes to foreigners. In my experience, in these I'm talking about in the outside of the big cities.
Yeah.
So the way that they receive me has been very well. Now, in working with ties, I will tell you that that's a whole nother subject. That's a whole different animal. Because you really understand what role you play in Thai society when you work with ties. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So, you know,
Well,
I want to go ahead.
let me just make a observation, and you can shake your head yes or no because we can't see you shaking your head anyway. So if you okay, so you're a foreigner working in Thailand, and okay, let me ask you this: are many of the people you work with are they also foreigners and native English speakers, or are there Thai people that you work with also?
So I work in an office that has it's about half and half. About half the office is Thai. About the other half, I would say a third comes from Western countries. I am the only American in the office. There's people from Portugal, France, Italy, the Netherlands, and then there is a host of Filipinos that work there. Also, which I hang around pretty much the entire time. I love them, absolutely love them. Wonderful people. So, um, but we all, and I hate, I really shouldn't say some of this stuff, but we all feel. I would say that my colleagues who are foreigners have all come to basically the same consensus that you really learn what your place is.
Okay, no,
When
no,
you
no
when you
yeah, that's
you know
yeah. Yeah.
yeah
Well, I know what you're saying at this point. I assume everybody else knows what you're saying too, and you don't
yeah.
really have to say it out loud.
Right, right.
I think you've
I want to
said it.
address. I want to address John real quick. He said there's a lot of other food in Bangkok than Thai. You're right, John. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of other food pretty much everywhere that you can get. But what I was referring to specifically are these trips that I go on with my job that the food is already prepared for you and you don't have a choice. So that's what I was referring to. Let me get a couple more real quick here. Um, let's see. There was Randall. Are you in a lower class if you work in Thailand? Randall, I'm gonna let you, brother. I'm gonna let you decipher that one out of the comments that I just made. I don't want to go there. Um, have you, or is it something you've heard a story about? I'm not sure what Kent means by that one. Giovanni has a comment on Globe Internet. I'm sure we could talk about that till the cows come home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Randall has a comment about the earthquake in Davao that
Well,
just happened.
Larry Hernandez says here, I don't think that it's fake. You have fake people in all countries. I agree with that, but I mean specifically I was talking about the service on Thai Airlines, and it's like they were efficient, but like it was done by a robot. I mean, they put the right smile on their face, but it was a completely different feeling than flying on Philippine Airlines, let's say, where the ladies will just kind of chat with you and just kind of. But Thai did everything right. They did everything they should do, but it was a coldness to the whole thing and a disconnected feeling when dealing with them. That was it.
I completely understand because I never flew PAL, but I flew Cebu Pacific many times, and it's a whole different feeling. So speaking of Globe, my next thing on the item list here was cost of internet and cell phones, and I'm gonna let you dive into that one first a little bit on your experience with because I know you had the iVideo thing going on, and if you want to talk a little bit about cell reception and internet speeds and cost and that kind of thing in the
Well,
Philippines.
I could say I had the iVideo thing going on, and I was basically they gave me a free, basically a Smart Bro. They had contracted somehow with Smart to buy bulk time. So they sent this thing to me in the Philippines and they said, "Hey, we'll let you use this thing if you do a shout out once a month." I said, "Well, okay, I'm always in for a freebie." So I did the shout out once a month and I was by a smart tower and that thing just blazed. It was blazing fast. Now, if you're with Smart or you're with Globe, and let's say you get a month long unlimited plan, that costs about 1,000 pesos. Okay, now when they say unlimited, it's much like the unlimited here in the US. It's unlimited until you hit a certain amount. Then they cut you down to 2G speed. You're still getting data, but it's useless data. So
Useless. Yep.
it's useless. I mean, it's useless for anything. I mean, you can't even, it's just useless. So when they say unlimited, much like here in the US, you got to read the fine print to find out that it's not really unlimited 4G LTE. But I thought, you know what? I think the prices overall are better and easier to swallow. Let's say it cost me 1,000 pesos for a month of unlimited with the quotation marks around it, Globe or Smart service. Well, I mean, you use your 800 megs a day, and if you're going to watch YouTube on that, it's going to burn down in half an hour. But if you don't
Right.
watch YouTube, it's going to last you just fine. So
True.
800, I mean, 1,000 is what, $20?
Yep.
Well, you're not going to get a $20, phone plan in the US. But I think
That's
the
for sure.
companies, I think the companies are screwing the Filipinos because the Filipinos are always loading it, because they don't have a lot of money. So
Right.
50 pesos every 3 days, and load, 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 load. So I believe that the Filipinos are getting screwed by the cell companies. And those of us that can afford to put a month's worth on at a time, that's a good deal. Take that.
Yeah. And let me say that, Randall. I'm gonna address your comment in just a second, buddy. I see it pop up there, and I didn't take it the wrong way. But here, so one of my SIM cards that I have is an unlimited AIS card, and it when I say unlimited on it, it is 4G LTE unlimited, true
Okay.
unlimited.
It doesn't
Uh,
it doesn't it doesn't go away after you use 1,000 megabytes a day or a gig
nope,
a day or whatever.
nope, nope, no cap, no cap.
And and
So
and how much do you pay for that a month?
1,500 baht, which is $45.
See, that's pretty good.
It is good because I am right now the internet that we're using is being hotspotted off of the cell phone off of that SIM card. So I mean, and it's pulling right now about 7 or 8 megs down, and actually getting about 10 up.
Now,
So
is that prepay or post pay?
it's prepaid. It's actually it's called a traveler sim.
Damn, man, that's
So
really good.
you can get it at the airport. You just fly in and you go to the AIS booth and tell them you want the traveler sim with the unlimited data package. After that, you can get calls here in Thailand for a 1 baht per minute, and you can get text messages for 3 baht per message. And you buy a big bundle of those, and it comes out to like 1,750 baht a month, which is like $55 roughly. And that's my entire internet cell phone bill. Period. All of
Well,
it.
and that's kind of comparable to the U.S.
It is, but it's you know
It's a tad
uh
lower than say Verizon, but I mean, with the bad internet I have specifically where I live, I mean, T-Mobile and Sprint are the worst, and I just changed to Sprint because as long as it's going to be horrible, I might as well pay less.
right, right. I'm in the process of doing something in the comments here. Talk for a second, Steve.
Oh, I gotta go for time fill in here.
Yeah, yeah. Just
Let
do
me
a
see
little
what can
time
I
real
do.
quick.
Let me see what can I do. I can.
All right, you're good. You're good.
I'm
I'm
good
back.
now. Well, I
Yeah,
was
you're
just
good.
gonna find somebody's comment to respond to, but
Oh
you're
yeah, let
back.
me respond to Randall real quick. He said, didn't mean a negative remark about working in Thailand, Jeremy, but was thinking why does someone expat work compared to retire? Wait, but why was thinking seems Thailand has better internet compared to the Philippines. That's without question, in my opinion. Um, Let me see what Randall was saying, but was thinking why does someone expat work compared to retired? I mean, Randall, clarify that statement, buddy. I
Well,
didn't I
I
didn't
think I
catch
know
that.
what he's saying.
All right, go ahead. What's he saying?
I think he's asking why you're working in Thailand and
Oh,
comparing that to someone being retired. And that's because you're working because you're young and you got to work and bring in money.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I released a video talking about my income, and everybody knows I get a small ROI from the states, which is pretty much what I lived off of in the Philippines. But to have a healthy well being of life, and in order to do the things I want to do, it was necessary for me to get a job here, to add the additional income, because living bare bones is just not something I look forward to doing anymore at all.
Yeah, I mean, you're a young guy. You got to work for the next 30 years and get yourself set up for retirement. So you
Exactly.
got you got to be bringing in money versus me who just sort of sits back and goes, "Give me more freebies. I want another freebie."
Right. Uh, Greg says that I'm a recently retired federal employee, single, have been to 11 different countries, but not Southeast Asia yet. Thinking about expatting, but I don't want to live somewhere I will perpetually be a target. Well, that's interesting, because I'm viewed as rich by the locals. How much of a problem is this? Well, you want to start with that one, Steve?
Well, I'd say it's a problem. I
It
mean,
is a problem.
I'd say overall, on the surface of things, it's not going to be a problem. But let's say, Greg, let's say you're living with a young lady. Let's just use that as a for instance that you're living with a young lady in the Philippines and things don't work out. Well, I have personally been down that road. And once things don't work out, you are definitely looked at as how do I want to say this? You're you're not
You're screwed.
yeah, you're kind of screwed because you do become a target, and you usually got to pay your way out of that situation.
Because you not only become a target with the girl, you become a target with the family of the girl, with the people that the girl know in the local barangay government,
Yes,
with the people that it's bad. It's
you are
bad.
the
It really
foreigner in the Philippines, and decisions are not going to necessarily go your way. And if you want out of that situation in a clean way, usually that takes somewhat of a monetary payment to get out of that
Agreed.
situation.
I
And
agree with that. Yep.
and
100%.
so you're not a target up front, no, other than everybody, and that's the weird thing about the Philippines. Take the living with the girl out of it or anything. What I see lately is a class distinction between the foreigners and the Filipinos. And there's just so many foreigners in the Philippines. I mean, they are everywhere. And I don't say that. I say that with the full knowledge that I'm one of those guys that's a foreigner in the Philippines. But it's so obvious that there's a monetary and class difference between being Filipino and being the foreigner in the Philippines, that you are a target on numerous things.
I
Yes.
would agree with that statement for sure. Giovanni asked if I was going back to the States. I'm going back probably in April, is what it looks like now. That's just due to my work schedule, Giovanni. Am I allowed to buy health insurance? Yes. My job gives me health insurance. However, it is very limited. Now, I will say it's only 700 baht per month, which is extraordinarily cheap, but I'm confined to the type of hospital that I can go to, and it's only covered at hospital. It's not like a doctor's care or you go in with the copay, that kind of thing.
So basically, it sounds
Uh,
like you have an HMO that they've contracted with a certain hospital to do inpatient care. Is that is
exactly.
that your deal?
That's that's the deal. Yep.
Now, is it okay? Here's an interesting question. Is it how? Okay, let's say you got to go to the doctor for whatever. We'll call it your runny nose and your cough.
Right.
What does it cost to go to a doctor there? And how does that get paid for? I mean, is it strictly a cash deal there, or is there any kind of insurance that you know of that can be purchased?
There is insurance that can be purchased. However, usually it's going to be traveler's insurance if you're a foreigner.
But
There
that's
are
expensive.
insurance that it is very, very expensive. There are insurance policies that you can get if you have the right type of visa here. Um, However, I have not looked into those yet, Steve. Just because when I got here, I was here about 6 weeks and I found out I was going to, get a job. So I really didn't look any further into the insurance situation. But there are policies that you can obtain here for sure. Now, when you go to the doctor, your question was about cash. Yes, it's mostly cash, kind of like the Philippines.
Yeah.
Um, the one thing that I like here, and I got a lot of flack on this when I said it on a video previously. uh, you if you're familiar, and I know you have a pretty extensive medical background, and I don't have a extensive medical background, but I have enough to know when I have a sinus infection, when I don't, things like that. You can go here and get the medications over the counter. So you in the Philippines, you can't do that. So you get to cut that middle, the 750 pesos or the 1200 pesos it costs to go to the doctor and then get the medicine. You get to cut that out here, so it kind of washes itself out, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think my response to that would be is let's say that you do have a sinus infection that is bacterial related, because that's the only thing that an antibiotic is going to help you with, is a bacterial infection, not a
Right.
virus. So no
Right.
matter what, an antibiotic's never going to help you with a virus ever. It's just not what's. But
Correct.
I have bought antibiotics numerous times in the Philippines, and if they're not going to sell it to you at Mercury. They're not going to sell it to you at Rose. But if you go to enough pharmacies, they're going to sell it to you. And I understand why they should not sell it to you, and their reasoning is valid. I mean, because the more you use, the more resistant whatever infection
Absolutely.
you have. I mean, I understand why they won't sell an antibiotic without a prescription. And
And I
that
totally
said, you walk
get it.
around enough places, you can buy it.
I totally get it as well. I'm not a proponent of uh, freely selling antibiotics. I'm just saying it's a difference in the country. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. So you're saying you can just walk into any pharmacy first time out and buy antibiotics.
Yep.
I mean, you don't got to go
Yep.
to three or four to find one that'll sell it to you.
No, you go to Watson's here, whatever you need.
Okay. So yeah,
Yep.
there is a difference there, and I think the Filipinos have that one right, and I don't think they follow the rules to the letter, but
Yeah,
they have
I
they have
think
the
they have
right
it right
idea.
too on that. Yeah, I agree because the antibiotic resistant strains, that kind of thing. But a lot of that comes from people not taking all of the medication or getting the wrong kind of antibiotic,
I
that kind of
agree. I agree. You got to
um,
finish. You got to finish all the meds you take. If you stop halfway through because you start feeling better, that's a bad move.
bad move. Jordy says, guys, why I never considered Vietnam cheap country and good for dating? Vietnam will be the next country that I visit with intentions of moving to answer
But
Jordy's question.
how's the how's the language problem in Vietnam
I, I
generally?
would I would assume it's going to be the same as Thailand. Um, although I have heard Vietnam, the English is really picking up there.
And how is the visa situation in Vietnam?
The visa situation is incredibly so much better than it is in Thailand. So much better. For example, I can walk into Vietnam as an American and get a 1 year visa, just walking in 1 year.
So you can show up at the airport and get a 1 year visa. When you walk into immigration, will they give you a 1 year visa? Boom, you're in.
Boom, you're in 1 year.
You're sure.
Um,
There's
that
no
is
other
that,
hoops you
that
got to do. There's no.
that is according to the people that have been there that I associate with, and also according to the immigration website, the Vietnam immigration website. I actually checked it out because I thought it was too good to be true.
Because I'll tell you, I understand. I hear hearsay going in my ear that people are bailing out of Thailand because they make it so difficult to stay long term.
It really is. For example, even if you're like, let's say you're a teacher in Thailand, you can only teach a maximum of 2 years on a temporary teaching license without going through their process of getting their certification, which is basically like getting your college degree. So then you have to go on to a volunteer visa or an educational visa, and all of those come with time restraints. And then the tourist visa, now you're looking at, two tourist visas, and that's pretty much about the best you're going to do unless you're paying people off.
But I've seen your video on renewing your tourist visa, your first visa free entry, and
Yes.
I saw the incredible hoops you had to jump through to extend for that 30 extra days. I mean, it looked like a
Yeah.
full day extravaganza just to extend for 30 more days.
The non-B and you're looking for work or a tourist visa or whatever the case may be.
I mean, I understand what you're saying you can renew, but the problem is, I think that you've glossed over all the hassle that it took you to
Oh
renew
yeah.
that visa free extra 30 days. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it looked like a horrible experience to have to deal with that for an extra 30 days.
Part of the reason was because I didn't know what I was doing. If I had
Of
to,
course.
and if I had it to do over again, it would be very simple. But with not knowing what I'm doing, with having to locate the center, because the center where you go get this done in Bangkok is huge. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been there, Steve, but it
No,
is
I have not.
huge. It's absolutely insane. It's just crazy. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
We want to get. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to talk about Randall R's comment here, or his question here is health care better in Thailand compared to the Philippines? If so, how? Costs? Question mark.
Well,
I don't
I
know,
can
Jeremy.
tell
You
you.
want to start that one?
Yeah, I will. For me personally, I will tell you that I had good quality health care in the Philippines. Um, I had to see a doctor in order to get the necessary medication that I needed. As all of you know, I have two minor health conditions that I have to take meds for. Um, so I didn't really have a problem there. I will also tell you that here it was even easier because I did a video on a place called the Med Clinic, which is only located in Bangkok, but it was the simplest, the most hassle free doctor's visit I've ever had in my life, and I've been there now twice. You can actually get medications for 3 months at a time here, no matter what kind of medication it is. So that's different from the Philippines.
I mean,
What's your
I
take on that?
I think healthcare in the Philippines is excellent. I mean, I think the docs and I mean, I know healthcare, and I dealt when I first got there with this whole brain surgery deal that happened with my then girlfriend Joy. She actually had
Right,
to have brain surgery in the Philippines. Now you're going to pay cash for everything, but if you, I mean, let's say that she needed a CT scan and it was 3 weeks for a Phil Health appointment. Well, I pony up $100. She moves right to the front of the line and gets the CT scan done that day.
right.
But I think the docs are well trained in the Philippines. I've never seen them over order or under order. The costs are cheap. I mean, it costs like 500 pesos to see a doc in the Philippines. You know, that's just to pay for the office visit. That's $10. But I think healthcare in the Philippines is really good, and I think healthcare in Thailand is even, I don't want to say it's better, but let's just say the outward appearance of the places you're going to go are very upscale. You know,
Agreed. I
think
agree with
their
that.
technology is good. I think their docs are good. So I say healthcare in both countries is good. And I think the Philippines may be a little bit cheaper than Thailand.
I agree with that assessment 100%. I would say that healthcare in both countries are more than adequate for just about anything. And I think the healthcare is cheaper in the Philippines overall. I would definitely agree with that statement. Um, so moving on to our lifestyle topics, tourist hotspots. Now, you want to start with some tourist hotspots that you visited in the Philippines that you would recommend other people going to?
You know, I haven't. I mean, the one actual tourist place I went to, Alana Beach on the Panglao. Man, you know what? I would not recommend anybody going there. I mean, it was just Alana Beach is supposed to be this white sand, beautiful beach, you know, and it's on Panglao Island, which is off Tagbilaran, which is Bohol. So when your boat
Right.
pulls up, you're getting off the boat in Tagbilaran, and you get a cab to whatever hotel or resort you're going to on Panglao. But the bad thing is they've just let the vendors overrun the whole place, and it completely ruins the experience of Alana Beach. You know what? I don't really do tourist hotspots. It's the kind of thing where I look at it on YouTube and then I look at the trouble it's going to take to go there. And it's like, God, do I really need to put my personal, and I've said this before a million times, do I need to put my personal eyeballs on the chocolate hills in Bohol? I mean, do I need to
Right.
actually physically stand there and physically look at it? I say no. What do I don't go? I don't want to go for all that hassle to stand there and physically look at what I just looked at on YouTube 3 minutes before that. And I know some people will go, well, I don't know. There's always an opposite argument. That's just my
Yeah,
opinion.
I agree. I will say I did visit several places in the Philippines. Casawan Falls was absolutely beautiful.
Is that
Tops
the one on
was
Sikihor?
no, that's on the island of Cebu. It's about 5.5 hours from Cebu City. It was absolutely wonderful. The tops in Lahug, which is outside of Cebu. That was beautiful. And then the northern Luzon is just filled with beautiful places. Baguio is it's an incredible city. I mean, just so many things to see up there, and the weather is amazing. When it's not raining, it's amazing. Now here in Thailand, about the limit of my tourist spots are Bangkok and Pattaya. I haven't really visited a whole lot of other things, and I will tell you that once you get over the initial wow of Pattaya, and the literally like the city of just anything goes basically. Once you get over the allure of it, and you realize that there are other things there, like really really good food, really cool places to shop, really interesting things to see. Parasailing. There's an island out there that you can go to. Some of that stuff is once you get over the allure, it's really nice. And I would say that both countries, in my opinion, offer a surplus of tourist hotspots that you can go to and enjoy and enjoy. Greg asked, has either one of us ever considered Mexico? Talking about a 6 month visa, good health care, food and weather, close to home, beautiful women, outside of gringo pricing. I've never felt like I was a target. I am a little bit terrified of Mexico. How do you feel, Steve?
Well, I live 20 minutes from Mexico. Um,
Okay.
I live 20 minutes from a little town called Los Algodones. And so I'm probably 200 miles from Tijuana. I'm probably an hour from Mexicali, which is the capital of Baja California. And I think that I wouldn't feel comfortable going to Tijuana at this point because that's where all the deportees are disembarked out of the bus. And
Right.
I've seen that process going on. I mean, the buses all day long. There's this like long cage that a bus fits into, and they back the bus in, and they open the back door, and they force everybody out through the turnstiles back into Mexico. And those turnstiles only turn one way, and it's not coming back into the U.S. And all those deportees are now without their jobs they had. Their families are not there. They don't know anybody. The only thing they can do is turn to crime, and Tijuana is worse than it's ever been. And it's always been a little iffy down there, but now I wouldn't go there at all. Mexicali, different story. It's a different vibe in Mexicali because, and that's the capital of Baja California, but it's not like Tijuana. And Algodones out here, this is where all the snowbirds come in the wintertime to buy their meds, to go to the dentist, and to get their glasses. So there's going to be no violence in Algodones. The drug cartels know that the dental cartel will just kick their ass right out of town. You know, you don't mess with the dental cartel. There's 700 dentists down there, so it's like they don't even want to get involved in that. But yeah,
Right.
I've thought of Mexico, but I kind of agree with Jeremy in that Mexico's got Mexico's got some severe problems, and I don't think it necessarily hits the expat areas. But then again, you look at the thing that happened in Cancun a couple of weeks ago, prime
Yeah.
tourist spot. Eight dead bodies showing up just sort of hither and yon. Well, that does not endear a secure feeling to the tourist.
And Greg says much of Mexico is very safe. Stay away from the border towns, and that's probably true.
It's probably true.
At this point, I'm just not willing to make that leap. South America is definitely on my radar, on my 10-year plan, not my 5-year plan. But so before we get into dating, which is going to be a lot of fun to talk about, you want to talk about any specific cultural words or phrases specific to each country? I know you were alluding to some earlier when you were talking about the electric fan.
Wait, I got. Hold on one second.
All right.
I have been making a list of things that I notice that are different. And this, Jeremy, did you ever have what you felt was culture shock in the Philippines?
Yes, when I first arrived, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Over
yes.
what? What was your culture shock? What was the thing you
Uh,
went, "Oh, this is too much. I
the
can't."
the poverty and the lack of infrastructure. What gave me the culture shock.
Mm, okay.
It was a
I
little different, right? The people themselves, which is typically what people think of when they think culture shock, that really didn't bother me. It was the walking down Cebu with broken sidewalks and falling in holes, and just the infrastructure in general, the internet stuff and all, and just being in a third world country, that was a culture shock.
mm, yeah, I didn't really experience that as culture shock because I have been to Mexico enough to see all the poverty and I mean, I got my list of things like men urinating in public.
Yeah. I heard you talking about that on your live
Yeah,
stream the other day.
that's I mean, there's certain things that are said. I mean, how often do you hear from a Filipina or a Filipino that well, she's not so beautiful, but she has a good heart?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, having a good heart is something that comes out of everybody's mouth in the Philippines. Um,
How
here's
about
another
the
one.
Philip how
Go
about the
ahead.
Filipinos saying what wait a while? How about
Wait a
that one?
while. Wait a
Wait a
while
while.
is a common thing too, and it just means give me a few minutes. But and I don't say this stuff to criticize. I say this just because it's different. And wait a while is a prime thing, and that's just like saying, here, hey, give me a couple of minutes and I'll take care of it. But wait a while. Noted. When you complain, they kind of stonewall you and say, noted. It's like, shut the hell up. I already heard
Right.
you.
Right. Exactly.
Um, how about this one, Jeremy? Have you ever heard in the Philippines the long hour? Have you heard that one?
I have heard that one.
The
Yes.
long
I have
hour.
heard
And
that.
that just means that, man, this is going to take a while. So I call it the long hour.
It,
I got a
ver-
bunch of them here, but go ahead.
that well, and in Thailand, one of the most common phrases you'll hear is same same. You know, people say same same, and basically all that means is it's they're talking about the same thing. They want you to know they mean the same thing. Some of the other things I did not make a list for this because I mostly wanted to concentrate on the Filipino stuff. There because there's so many little take care always,
Take
those
care
things that you
always.
hear. Yeah,
Take care. Now,
those are go ahead.
how do you think that? Okay, these are ubiquitous phrases all across the Philippines. Okay,
Yep,
everybody says the same thing. The thing I find interesting is that everybody does say the same thing. I mean, especially the take care always. Okay. And the word bonding. What are you doing? I'm bonding with my family. I'm bonding with my friends. But the thing is, everybody says the same word bonding, take care always. Here's another one. Let's say you're going to change apartments. You're going to, you're moving out of one, you're moving to another. The word they use there is transfer. You're going to transfer today. Everybody says transfer. Now, I know that people may say, well, you're being intolerant of their phrases and all that. I'm not being intolerant. I'm just saying these are things, cultural things that I've noticed that everybody says.
that's very
So,
true. And here they'll say, "Are you okay?" And when they say, "Are you okay?" they don't mean is something wrong, and are you okay? What they mean is yes or no. That they're saying, give me a yes or no answer. So, like they would say,
that's
well,
interesting.
I'm gonna go to dinner at, or I'll meet you at 8 p.m. at MBK or whatever, and they'll say, are you okay? And that means yes or no. Are you okay with that time? Is what they're saying.
Oh, see,
That's
that's interesting.
yeah. That's one to definitely get used to.
Are you okay?
Um, are you okay? That's for sure. So let's get to the good stuff here, and let's talk about dating in these countries because I got quite a few topics here. And the first one is how to spot a scammer. And I'm going to go first on this one because I feel like your explanation is going to be a little more lengthy. so I'm just going to say here pretty much what you want to look for is an educated woman or someone who is pursuing an education and has a job. Outside of that, if you are looking for anything else, you're probably going to find a girl that's after you for your money. But if you stay within the realm of I'm looking for an educated woman and or she is already educated and or she has a job, you're probably okay here in Thailand. However, it's much different in the Philippines. And take it away, Steve.
Well, okay, Jeremy, let me ask you about if you take your statement that you just said and you apply it to the old guy demographic, i.e., my age, if you apply it
Right.
to that demographic, what would be your response to that same thing applied to someone twice your age? What are the
Uh,
options for them in Thailand, do you
I would
think?
say I would say the exact same thing. I would say the exact same thing because I know some of the. I've actually met with some of the really big vloggers here in Thailand, and they have. Some of them are older, and they have older Thai women who have their
Okay.
own business
Okay.
or that kind of thing, and it's they're not supporting them; they support each other.
And that's a change from the Philippines.
Yes, very much
And I
so.
mean, that's why Thailand is more of a first world environment than the Philippines. I mean, obviously the Filipinos are poor most of the time. And I mean, you always got to caveat this thing. You always got to put a disclaimer on it that yes, I understand not every Filipino is dirt poor. I understand there's doctors, lawyers, dentists, and all that kind of stuff that have money. There's business owners. I mean, they didn't build Makati because nobody was successful.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of success and there's a lot of money in the Philippines. But is the old guy going to be able to tap into that level of person in the Philippines? And I would say no. I mean, I would say sure, no is not, no, I don't mean every single person that it'll never work out anytime. But I think that if you're a foreigner in the Philippines, you've got a certain niche that you're sort of locked into. And mostly it's poor girls trying to better their circumstances in life, and
Agreed.
they want to help their family. They want to help their kids. They want to put the next bowl of rice on the table. And many of these girls do not have any options in life. I mean, they're not doctors, they're not dentists, they're not going to college, they're never going to college, they're never going to have a good job. So they try and latch onto a foreigner. So there is
And,
a mutual give and take in that relationship.
and they tend to look at that, from what I understand, as a means of practicality. Um,
Well, I think that both parties in that relationship are receiving value.
yep,
And so if
I
you
agree.
think that you're going to the Philippines and she's in love with you because you're 65 years old and just one hell of a fellow, I would say that that is the wrong attitude. She is there for a practical reason. While she may like you, while she may not find you completely objectionable, she is there for a practical reason, just like the guy is there for a practical reason because he doesn't want what's available to him, i.e., me. I don't want what's available to me here in the US because, as I've said, have you looked at Plenty of Fish lately? It is not.
Exactly.
It is
Yeah,
not a good scene. So
it's
it's a
really not.
two-way street. It's a two-way street in the Philippines. And
Randall
go ahead.
Randall says I heard Thai women are more aggressive and have short tempers compared to Filipinas. I'm gonna tell you right now. To me, that I'm gonna say that's a complete wash, because the craziness that ensues. Now, I haven't dealt with crazy in Thailand like I've dealt with crazy in the Philippines because I haven't had any kind of really serious relationship here. But um, I can tell you that all of them are short tempered. Would you agree?
Are you talking about Thailand or the Philippines?
Both.
Well, I can really only speak to the Philippines. I can just say that jealousy and tampo is closely followed by getting punched in the head. How about that?
I hear you. I hear you. For legit relationships, I would say one of the differences is in the Philippines, the girl will take you to meet the family, and then you get their approval. Here in Thailand, the girl after 3 or 4 dates will take you to meet the family because the girl has approved of you. You got any comments on that?
I think my comment would be is that the girls that I've met are always somewhere other than by their family because they need to work and make money. They get a job at SM, they get a job at Ayala, and their families may be back in the province somewhere. So
Right.
it's really a tough thing to meet the family. I have met the family once, and we had a good time. There was a lot of drinking of gin and lime juice that went on, and a lot of off-key singing. And guess who paid for the party? And it wasn't them.
You did.
Yeah, well, so I met the family, and believe me, the family was very happy to meet me because I was buying the gin.
Right. Right.
So,
Exactly.
that's just the way it goes. You're gonna end up ponying up, I think, more in the Philippines than you would in Thailand, from what I've heard you say.
I think that's a fair statement. I think that's a fair statement because the girls that I've been on dates with here, um, I've only paid for one date. The rest of the girls insist on paying for the date themselves, not for the whole date, but for their part of the date. So I would say it's very much different.
Well, that's very much different.
Yeah. And the, in terms of the scamming that goes on, I would think that, I feel like the Philippines has more of a reputation for that than Thailand. I don't know. What do you think?
Um, it depends. I mean, if you're talking about scamming, I don't know. Outside of the taxis, which I don't think there's an easy way to get out of getting scammed a little bit in the taxis. I mean, people say Grab. I've I've only tried Grab Taxi. I've not tried Grab Car, which I should try Grab Car. But
Yep.
Grab Taxi scam me, just the way everybody else does. On the side, yeah, there's the price for the Grab Taxi. It comes in on the phone. There's the price. Then I get a side message that says, "Forget that price, 500 flat rate." So
Exactly.
the two times that I've used Grab Taxi, I've been flat rated both times on the side, not officially.
Hmm.
So I've
That's interesting.
heard that that's not a problem with Grab Car as much as it is with Grab Taxi.
Now, Randall has just posed a very interesting question. He says, if you marry a Thai woman, is there a dowry to pay? That depends on the family. If it's a very traditional family, yes. K-12 visas compared to the Philippines, cost if someone knows. I'm not sure about that part, Randall, but the dowry does exist if you're talking about traditional Thai women.
The dowry still exists in Thailand?
Yep, still does. All the gold and
Wow.
all that stuff sure
Really?
does.
What
Yep.
what do you think that dowry would consist of? I mean, what does a dowry
Uh,
consist of in Thailand, if you know?
so I don't know a lot about it, but I do know that it involves a certain amount of gold being purchased for the girl. I know that it involves a certain amount of money you pay to the family because you're essentially taking away a worker from the family, similar to what happens in the Philippines. Um, and that's about my limited knowledge of the dowry, to be honest with you, Steve.
So the traditional dowry of giving father a pig and a chicken really isn't going to cut it anymore.
That's not now. That's again. This is my understanding, but yeah, not going to
So
cut it anymore.
do you have a sense of how much gold you would have to pop up with to get this done?
I forgot exactly how much it was. I watched a video on this on YouTube, but it's ridiculous. I mean, it's really ridiculous. But they
Ridiculously
have
high way or low? Is,
yes,
is it ridiculously high?
yes, ridiculously high. There are, if you notice, and I'm sure you have these shops that have nothing but gold chains and pendants and other thing around there. Dowry is usually 10 to 15,000. That's right, John. That's correct. That's exactly the number I was looking for. Um, so here's Mr. Deep Green Forest again. Says hi. It seems the Penais are more open to Westerners and more willing to move to the West, and Thais are happy with Thais and staying in Thailand. What do you guys think? I'd say there's some truth to that.
I
I'd
think
say there's some truth to that.
I think that's absolutely true.
Yep.
I mean, if you look around on on Dayton, Asia. Okay, you look
Yes.
around, and more I've seen, because it says one of the questions on Dayton, Asia is, are you willing to relocate? I have seen more and more and more saying yes, yes, yes. Filipinos are willing to relocate. And I think they want to get out of the poverty of the Philippines. They want to go to a Western country and see if they can break the cycle of the mess that they're involved in the Philippines. So
I
I
agree
mean,
with that.
and I can see where the ties, being a more advanced, I don't want to say civilization, being more socioeconomically advanced, are not looking to get out of Thailand as much as the Filipinos are looking to get out of the Philippines. I think.
I, I completely agree. I completely agree. Yeah, that's a good summation. Greg has a question for you. It says, speaking of visas, does Steve has a? I know the answer to this question, but I'm gonna let you answer it. It says, speaking of visas, does Steve have a Philippine retirement visa? If not, why not? Seems easier to stay long term.
You know what, Greg? Because I don't qualify for. There's like the one good visa that I think is the one SRR visa for like military retirees, where you
Yep,
only have to fund an account for $1,500 in a Philippine bank. Other than that, you got to put, it's what is it? It's like 10 or 15,000 or 20,000 pesos in a Philippine bank. And I just read about this the other day. And I looked at all the different SRR visas, and you got to put a pile of money in a Philippine bank. And I just don't want to do that. I don't want to tie up 10 or 20,000, pesos. Well, pesos, that's nothing. It has to be dollars. I mean,
it's dollars.
20,000.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. It has to be dollars.
it
I don't
is.
want to I don't want to put that much money in a Philippine bank. So I am willing to go to immigration every couple of months, because way back when Duterte started the whole thing, he gave a directive to the immigration chief to cut down the paperwork in immigration. Because when you got your visa extended before, you had to have a copy of the bio page, a copy of your stamp into the country page. You had to have 4 pictures. You had to have this and that and the other thing. Now it's like one page and they don't care. You just fill it out, you give it to them, and you're done. So my basic thing is, I don't want to stick that pile of cash into a Philippine bank, which has to remain there for the entire
That's
existence of your retirement visa. That amount of cash has to stay there, or you have to invest actual money into a property in the Philippines. Like, let's say you have to buy a condo, because
yep,
a
and
foreigner cannot own land. I don't want to spend $50,000 on a condo in the Philippines.
exactly, and that's the key, Steve. What you said was the money has to remain in the bank. It would be different if you had, with that kind of money having to stay in the bank, that would turn me off from that kind of visa.
Yeah, Ken Thomas says 50K, 50,000 USD if you're under 50 years old for retirement visa. Yeah, that's right. It's a lot. I mean, who under 50? If you got $50,000 laying around to stick in the Philippines, are you really going to retire in the Philippines if you're under 50 and have that much money? I
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, if you got that much money laying around and you're 50, would you go to the Philippines and stick it in a Philippine bank?
Right.
I mean, I
Right.
wouldn't, but
Exactly. No, I agree, because if you have that much money, if I had that much money, I'm not sure that the Philippines would be my country of choice to retire in. You know.
yeah, I agree. If I got 50,000 laying around, I'm not going to stick. I'm not going to stick it in a Philippine bank. I'm not going to stick 20,000 in a Philippine bank. I'll trundle myself down to immigration every 2 months, pay my $60 or 3130 pesos every 2 months, and just extend my visa. Yeah, it's a little
Exactly.
inconvenient, but
It
I
is.
just
It's better than the alternative, because if the if some kind of economic collapse would happen in the Philippines and your money's gone, you know.
well, and it's very easy to say, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it'd be very easy to say, let's say, for the president of the country to say, well, you know what, we are taking over all the banks and all that money you guys have in there. Well, it's now ours, and what are you going to do about it? Nothing.
Right.
You're not going to do
Exactly.
anything about it. That being said, the same thing could happen in any country. So, you know, I don't know what that means, but
Well, I get it. Rudy says, "What's the common dowry for a Filipina to their family that'll be accepted? $400 a month wage she earns helping her parents and family from the province." You want to address that?
I don't. You know, if you're taking, if she is the sole support of her family, and she's making $400 a month. Number one, that's a lot of money for a Filipino to make. You about have to work in a call center to make that kind of money.
That's
I
true.
mean, if you're working in SM Mall, standing up all day selling whatever you're selling in the mall, you're not making 400 a month.
Nope.
But you are. They can get along on very little money over there. Filipinos are very resourceful at how to make everything stretch and how to get things done because that's their life. They have to be. But if you're taking a girl that's making 400 a month and you don't want to let her keep working, you want her to be with you full time, there's going to be a negotiation to be had because you are taking the breadwinner out of the family.
Exactly. Yep.
So
I completely agree.
I don't know if it's going to be 400 a month. You're going to have to chip in. And I know I've had this discussion before, and many people say I wouldn't pay anything ever. Well, that's where the whole allowance thing comes in.
Yep. You're
And
going to pay something.
you're going to pay.
You are with the Filipina. You're going to pay. You are.
You're going to pay.
Yeah. That's just the way it is. One way or the other, you're going to pay. And you know, in some cases in the lower class here in Thailand, it's the same way. Let's see.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeremy. Let me ask you this. Since you've gone all around, let's say Bangkok, when you get off the beaten path, okay, when you get out of the shiny, tourist area, what is the actual living conditions of the day-to-day Thai? Does it look like the Philippines, or is it still a step above?
It's still it's a small step, but it is a step above. Even and I have been out to Prachinburi and Kachinburi, which are very provincial locations. It does look a lot like the Philippines. However, if you get way out, like Bambang, way out in the Wave of Vizcaya in the province in the Philippines, you get out there, you find three-walled houses, houses that have three walls that people live in. And I have not seen that here in Thailand. I just haven't. It still gets very run down, but at the same time, I would have to say that it is a small step above the Philippines, in my opinion.
So you're saying even at its worst, the Philippines, I mean, Thailand is still a step up from the Philippines.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Yes, okay. Correct. And in terms of living conditions, yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. Randall says, that guy, what country you suggest? I've never spent time in Thailand, but plenty of time in the Philippines. I mean, for me personally, this is a question I get asked very often. For me, it's hands down Thailand. I love the Philippines, guys. I really do, and I'm pretty sure Steve can attest to that because I tell him about it. For me, I'm a person who enjoys many Western aspects of life, and it is just so much easier to find here in Thailand than it is in the Philippines, in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with the Philippines. Just the choices that I look for in life are more readily available here in Thailand, and that's just for me. What's your take on that, Steve?
Well, I just for the long-term stay, I think it's much easier in the Philippines. And if you can listen, you get used to the Philippines. Okay. I mean,
True.
I don't mean to bag on the Philippines, but you get used to it, and it's okay. I mean, I think the thing I generally say is just when you go to the Philippines, you got to be prepared to lower the bar. You
Yep.
know,
Hmm.
you can't raise the bar and get upset when it doesn't meet your expectations, because it's not going to meet your expectations, and you have to be willing to lower the bar and expect less. Then you might be okay. And I don't expect anything fancy or to be well done or to be done correctly in the Philippines. That's just the way the Philippines works, and that's okay. If you know that going in and you're good with that, it's fine. And that said, Thailand is a step up no matter what. It is a step up. But the Philippines is okay too. I mean, there's
It
nothing.
is.
I just
It's the mindset going in. You hit the nail on the head. Is you have to prepare yourself when you go to the Philippines. That's why in the series I did on how to be an expat in the Philippines, my first video is visit and spend as much time as you can, because that is going to tell you, where the bar is, and whether or not your expectations of what kind of lifestyle you want to have is going to be met.
Yeah, and that bar is low. I mean, if you can't accept the way the Philippines operates, if you can't accept the poverty, I mean, because there's just poverty everywhere. And the more I walk around there, the more I walk around day to day, I just see the class difference between the foreigner and the Filipinos. There's a big class difference. And I sort of think it's turning into a problem. And maybe I'm overreading into the situation, but I think attitudes are hardening towards the Westerners in the Philippines. And I don't know if that's coming down from the top, because attitudes are hardening at the top and it just sort of filters down to the day-to-day interactions. And I
Like a
can't
trickle
say that,
down.
yeah, I can't say that I've seen anything overt. I can't say that I've experienced any overt, hate or anything like that. I just get a sense that attitudes are changing. And I mean, attitudes are changing because the foreigner is so pervasive in the Philippines. I mean, we are just everywhere, in every niche, in every corner. And I don't know, man, if I was a Filipino, it's just the same thing. What if you're in the United States and the place is just filled with Chinese millionaires, which it is anyway, but I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
I see your point. Yeah.
what if they're just everywhere? I mean, everywhere. Would you resent them at all? Would you be jealous of them? Would you figure, well, you're rich, I can steal that from you. It doesn't matter, you're rich. You know,
And and you saying this is one thing that Thailand has done a very good job of, because with putting such harsh restrictions, not, well, I won't say harsh restrictions, but with putting so many more restrictions on their visas than the Philippines, they keep. There are a lot of foreigners here, but it's not like it is in the Philippines. Because if you come from a Western country in the Philippines, basically you just show up, get your visa, and then you go pay every 2 months or every 6 months or whatever for 3 years, and then take 24 hours off and come back. Here in Thailand, it doesn't work that way. You know, the visas are just more scrutinized, and they do that because Thailand believes in ties. And to a certain extent, I wish personally America would adopt some of Thailand's immigration laws. To be honest with you.
well, I agree that, I mean, I think the ties really are saying, you know what? Come on in. You're our good buddy for 30 days, then get the hell out. We don't want you here anymore. You leave all
Exactly.
your money. You just leave it here in Thailand and get out after 30 days. And if you
Yep.
don't want to get out, we're going to make it very difficult for you to extend for another 30 days. You can do it, but it's not going to be easy.
Right. That guy has asked a comment. He says, "But Jeremy, doesn't the language barrier make you feel lonely in Thailand?" We discussed that a little bit earlier, and so I'll say again, yes, it does. And the way to get around that is to get involved with other foreigners here. I explained that in my office that I work in, there are a lot of Filipinos there, and I typically spend most of my time talking with them. And there are other foreigners there. So you're basically, when you come to Thailand, you got two choices. You can either fight not learning Thai, or you can learn Thai. That's pretty much your two options. Because if you if you try to just get by on having somebody that knows Thai walk around with you all the time, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. At some point, you have to make the commitment to say, okay, I'm going to try. You know,
And that's a hard commitment to make because it's not easy to learn Thai.
it is
Very
not easy at
difficult to
all.
learn Thai. Now, let's see. John here says, I don't know if this is a question with that Y in the front. Why Philippines has a huge drug problem? I don't know if that means why does Philippines have a huge drug problem, or he's saying as a statement Philippines has a huge drug problem. I don't know. How would you read that, Jeremy?
I think the Y is a typo. I think Philippines has a huge drug problem as a statement. I think.
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is, yeah, the Philippines has a huge drug problem, and the people I've talked to on the street, while they understand the Duterte solution to the problem, it seems like most Filipinos know someone that's been killed, or they know
Yep.
someone, or a family member, or a cousin, or something has a friend that's been killed in this purge of the drug problem. I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent on the whole thing. I'm just saying that most Filipinos, it's affected them somehow, and they kind of wish it would stop. That said, it's not going to stop, but they kind of wish it would stop. But yeah, there's a drug problem. Yeah.
I agree. Don is chatting about the U.S. drug problem. There's no question that the U.S. has a drug problem.
Of course, the U.S. has
No
a huge
question.
drug problem.
Yeah,
Huge drug problem.
major drug problem. So you want to let's fly? No pun intended. Actually, pun is definitely intended. Let's fly into our final topic that we have here, and that is flying to Southeast Asia. And for me, I'm going to do the short version and let you really talk about racking up miles and who to fly with and that kind of thing. I've flown. What's the one that starts with a K? Um,
Korean,
no, not
Korean,
Korean. Not Korean. It's a three-letter word. Maybe it's not a K. Um, Eva,
uh,
Eva,
oh,
Eva,
EVA,
Eva.
yeah.
Yeah, Eva. I've flown Eva, and I've flown Singapore. Um, I have to say that the Eva flight was a 16-hour flight from JFK to Taipei, Taiwan, and then another 3-hour punch in to Cebu. Um, and that was after a hour and a half flight from Charlotte to JFK on JetBlue. So Eva was the customer service is excellent, absolutely phenomenal. Singapore customer service was excellent, absolutely phenomenal. I flew on an A380 on the Singapore trip, and it was a two-stop flight. Um, the aircraft itself was troublesome. You would think that the world's largest commercial aircraft would be a comfortable airplane and would be, something easy to fly on. It's not. It's not roomy. Specifically, the configuration that they had it in. When it lands like a brick, which it is. It's heavy. It's a big. It's huge. The Boeing 777 that I flew on Eva was a much more comfortable flight. And I can tell you that I have no experience racking up flight miles or trying to get into business class or any of that stuff. So I'm going to let Steve take it away from here on all of that good stuff.
The only I threw on, I flew on the A380 once, and that was Asiana back from Incheon back to LAX, and I was in business, so it was wonderful. Um, After you fly in business, I don't want to sound like elitist and all that, but after you fly in business, it's tough to go back. I mean, it's tough to go back. And the best thing about business is that seat lays out flat. So I don't know what the seat configuration looked like that the EVA does for the A380, but it sounds like it's uncomfortable.
The Eva was the 777. The
Oh,
Singapore was the A380, and it was a triple, a quad, and a triple on the lower deck, and it was just the leg room was horrendous. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad.
now on Eva, you can't, and this is why I don't use them and why I wish I could use them, but you can't pick your seat until after you pay, right?
Correct. That's correct. Yep.
See, that's I can't do that. I mean, what if all that's left is a middle seat somewhere? You're stuck in that middle
Exactly.
seat for time infinitum. It's no good thing.
16 hours on a flight is
Miserable.
oh, miserable. Yeah, miserable is a good word. It's miserable. It's
It's
it's not.
misery.
If you can't sleep, you're pretty much screwed because there's only so many movies you can watch. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Well, I mean, the only I don't have a lot to say about flying other than because I've just flown on PAL mostly because PAL's the only direct flight from Los Angeles to Manila nonstop. There's no stop and no change of planes. You go up, you go down, that's it, you're done.
That would be
And it's
so nice. We
and
don't
it's
have that option from the East Coast.
well, it's 13 hours, and I think you do have that option now, and I think PAL offers that going from New York City to Manila. I think that's a new
Oh,
option that they just started.
I have to check that. I have to look into that because the last time I've never been able to find a direct flight to the Philippines from JFK. That certainly not from Charlotte. From where I would fly out of.
Well,
But
Charlotte's
that
never going to find a direct flight out of Charlotte to anywhere except to a hub.
well, you can. They do have direct flights to London. They have direct flights to Frankfurt. They have direct flights
Charlotte?
to yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And the airport is growing as the businesses come in. BMW is right down the road, and Boeing is right down the road in South Carolina. Honda makes the Honda Jet down in South Carolina, right down the road because Charlotte is at the southern tip of North Carolina. So you can get some direct flights to certain areas. You can get direct flights to the Caribbean and certain other places, but they're not going to give you a direct flight to the freaking Southeast Asia. It's just not going to happen.
Just reading the comments here, I can see that taking flights is certainly a to each his own thing. I
Yep,
mean, some people can sit in that seat and immediately nod off for the next 8 hours, and it's like general anesthesia, that you miss most of the flight, which is, of course, the preferred way to do it is to miss most of the flight.
absolutely.
So everybody's got a different way they go. Everybody's got their favorite way to go. I mean, as much as I dislike PAL because it was so difficult to use the miles to get a free upgrade, they've now changed that so that you can book online for the upgrade to business. So I don't know. I may be sticking with PAL. But like I said, everybody does it different. I mean, there's somebody, let's see, Randall R is saying that uh, he likes a 1:40 a.m. flight to Taipei. It's like you can't say anybody's right or wrong in their
Right.
choices. Like me, I would never choose a 1:40 a.m. flight, but that's me. That's not Randall. So
That's the
yeah,
exact flight that I took.
I mean, that would be misery for me, and apparently it's good for Randall. And I'm not saying it's wrong or anything. I'm saying that that's a to each his own thing. Whatever works for that person.
I agree. I agree. The airline deal is just something that everyone has to navigate for themselves. You got to try a few and kind of see what works for you. Now, I haven't flown back and forth nearly as much as you have, which is why I kind of wanted to just leave the topic pretty much up to you on that one. But I tell everybody on the plane there are three major important things that you absolutely need to make sure you do on a long haul flight. One is stay hydrated. Two is sleep, and three is make sure you get up and walk around as much as possible.
Yeah, if you can sleep, but I agree that getting up and walking around is the real important one. I mean, get up every hour and take a lap around the plane. That is the most important one Me, I
Yep.
can't sleep. I can't sleep on a plane. So, but that getting up, you do not want to sit there with those legs folded for the next 16 hours and not move. That's where the blood clots come in, and that's where the pulmonary embolus comes in, and that's
Yep.
where your life or death situation comes in. And all it takes is to get up and walk around. Just don't sit there.
That's true, and on a lot of these, I know on Eva especially, you even flying economy, you go to the bathroom and they have their own toothbrushes, their own soap for you, their own wash rags. So you can go in there and clean up and stand up for 10 or 15 minutes, and nobody's going to bother you because you're in the middle of a nighttime flight. Everybody's asleep, and you can literally do laps around the inside of the airplane.
How about this, Jeremy? Are you a window guy or an aisle guy?
I was a window guy because I'm big in photography and all that stuff. So I was a window guy, but I have now become an emergency exit guy.
Ooh, another another nuance to the flying experience, and why an emergency exit leg room.
Leg room, yes, sir. Because I'm extremely claustrophobic, and the leg room, I actually prefer the outside, the aisle seat on a emergency exit, even though it means I have to put both my bags in the overhead for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
I can always get the one down after we level off. But I have become a big fan of the emergency exit, and you know, uh, it does kind of hinder me. I love looking out the window. I love being at 30 to 35,000 feet, looking out the window, taking pictures of the clouds, all that stuff. But if I'm on a 16-hour long haul flight, it is much, much more important for me to have that leg room and to feel comfortable and to not have all the anxiety that I would have if I were sitting, in a window seat, pressed up against two other people.
Well, I think as an old guy, all of us old guys want the aisle seat because you got to get up 10 times the flight, and so you don't want to have to fight. Yeah, okay, we know where that story's going. I can stop that one, I guess.
Yep. We understand that one for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But
Okay, we
of
know where
course,
we're going with that one. That story's over.
yeah.
But
Randall says Valium works best. I agree. If you can grab some Valium or Ambien or Klonopin or
man,
get
I'll tell
something.
you what, anything you can drug yourself out with for the next 16 hours is good enough.
It's a winner, and it also, believe it or not, it actually helps with jet lag, especially if you wake up and you really hydrate yourself very well. Because sleeping, when you take these long haul flights, I cannot emphasize how important it is. And Steve, I know you have trouble sleeping on planes, but I personally don't have that problem. I can sleep on an airplane. So the more I sleep on the plane, the less jet lagged I am when I get there. And I also want to say this: going to a Southeast Asian country from America, the jet lag is really not that bad for me. Coming home from a Southeast Asian country, the jet lag makes me metaphorically borderline suicidal.
No,
I mean,
that's an academically researched thing that going west to an Asian country, I have no problem going west. Okay, if I get there at 6:30 at night and I have some dinner, then I go to bed, I'm fine the next day, no jet lag. Coming back east, that is a living hell. That is hard. It takes 2 weeks of just, and it's not that you're just a little bit sleepy. It's that you feel like death is going to claim you at any moment.
at
And
any moment,
and
the
I
first
don't know what causes it, but it's horrible.
on my first trip, the first time I went and visited before I moved, I went over Christmas break. It was my next to last semester of college, and I went over there, and I had 2 days when I got back before I went to school. And when I started school that Monday, it was like I was in the freaking twilight zone, Steve. I was like, you know how right before you start to pass out, you start to see the little blue dots in front of
Yep.
your face.
Yep.
Yep, I saw those for like 10 days. off and on. It was
Hey,
bad.
and it doesn't matter how much sleep you get, it's got nothing to do with sleep. I
You don't
don't know
think
what
so?
I don't know what it has to do with, but it's not sleep.
On the way coming back, I agree. I don't think I really don't think there's anything you can do other than pump yourself full of vitamins, hydrate yourself, and sleep as much as possible. But still, I agree with you. I don't think it really helps that much.
Robert says, "Hi, Steve." Hi, Robert.
And hi, Ian. Ian has just joined us. He's been with me for a little while now, so I'd just like to say hi to him. What happened to your camera? If you're talking to me, my camera, I left it at home for the trip this time, if that's what you're talking about. Because I thought I was going to be staying in a hotel in Bangkok, like in the city of Bangkok tonight, because I thought I was going to have a roommate here on this trip. And turns out I did not have a roommate. And thank God I didn't, because making that trip into Bangkok and then trying to do this live stream and then getting up at 4 a.m. to be back here at 6 a.m. for breakfast would have been insane. So, yeah,
Oh yeah,
we're glad.
what time is it there for you?
It
1?
is 12:40 a.m.
12:40 a.m.
12:40.
Well, that's getting a
it's,
little late.
it's getting a little late. I was just looking. We still have 55 people watching, and I was wondering if we should shut it down or keep going. Or
Robert says, "How's Yuma?" I tell you how Yuma is. It's hot again today. It's back to triple digit heat. It was good. Now we're back to not so good. So that's Yuma.
is that Yuma, Arizona? Is that where you
Yeah.
are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not good. It's hot. Well, whatever you want to do here, shut it down or keep going. I know you got to get up in the morning.
Yeah, I'm thinking 5 hours from now I'm gonna have to get up, and the
Yeah,
sooner I go to bed, I'm probably gonna um, I'm probably gonna I'm probably gonna thank myself for
well,
shutting it down. So let me just say real quickly, thanks, Robert. You're right. It is the message that counts. I have to say this has been just a wonderful live stream, man. It's been very informative, and I've actually learned some stuff and got to revisit some things that I'd forgotten about the Philippines, and brought back some good memories. And I don't look to be doing this often, Steve, but maybe 6 months from now or something, we could hit up another live chat.
yeah, it was
This was
good.
really good. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on, man. I really, really, really genuinely appreciate it. And
Well, thanks for
I'm
inviting me.
sure
It was fun.
yeah, man, I'm sure my audience appreciates it, and I'm sure the people on the playback is going to appreciate it as well. So, lots of good info here, guys. And Steve, you got any final thoughts?
Uh, nope, I barely got any original thoughts. Most of the time, final ones are just elusive.
I hear you. Me neither, man. No final thoughts from me, guys. All I want to say is I had briefly mentioned in a live stream last week that I was going to have a Patreon started up, and that is no longer going to happen. No Patreon. The content that I was going to do, I'm going to do for free. So I will have videos coming out on that for you guys that are my followers. Coming out this week, and I will explain all that to you. So, no Patreons, no additional money, no additional revenue. Don't have any plans for super chats or anything like that coming up. That's just letting you guys know. So, with that being said, Steve, thanks again, brother. And I'm going to end the broadcast. Everyone have a wonderful night. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.
Talk to y'all later.